Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to Invisible Condition. It's not all in your head. I'm your host, Jeff Pearson, and we want everybody that's living with an invisible condition to know beyond the shadow of a doubt that you do have a voice, you have a community, and you are never alone. And I'm very excited to introduce today's guest. This is going to be a really cool show. Ben Biddick describes living a life of service, which I love. Living a life of service that's the way to do it, man. His first journey of service was as a combat medic in Iraq. Ben contributed to large-scale emergency management, performed hostage and crisis negotiation. Yikes. We'll talk about that a little bit, I think. Engaged in crisis intervention for suicidal and homicidal ideation during the pandemic, and worked as a nurse in the military, correctional and facility environments for decades and more. He's done a lot. With this extensive background, Ben has now helped clients with a huge range of human experience, from trafficking children to professional athletes or trafficked children. Let's make that distinction. Trafficked children. We don't talk to traffickers around here. With professional athletes, all kinds of stuff. I mean, absolutely amazing. I can't wait for you to meet him. Ben says his greatest joy is helping to transform his clients' challenges into their greatest successes. I love that. Can't wait to get this ball rolling here. Let's see. Ben, thank you for being here, man. This is so cool.
Thank you so much for having me on your show. Your show's amazing.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Every once in a while you do a Freudian slip like that. Trafficking, traffic. I was like, oh, come on. So yeah, every once in a while you kind of bite your tongue once in a while. But anyway, man, this is so cool. You have been doing you've done a lot. I'm like, looking at your resume is like impressive to me. Can you share some of the most significant stuff, like challenges you faced during your time as a combat medic in Iraq? Like that's a big deal. And by the way, thank you for your service and sacrifice. That is no small thing. So thank you very much.
It was my honor to serve, and thank you for that. I'll direct that kindness directly to those families who their loved ones didn't come home. That love and respect I will channel directly to them. I feel very fortunate to still be here and to have been able to contribute, hopefully to a better world. Some of the things that I've done from the very beginning, just as you described here, is that early in my life, I really came to understand that there are no guarantees in this life, and that we get dealt a certain hand in this life. Like, just as you were born with hydrocephalus, I was born with some challenges too, and we all have a decision to make in how to respond to those things. And so, in my life, learning early on that there's very there is no guarantees, that we need to really focus on how we respond and make the most of each opportunity that we have, because tomorrow's not guaranteed. So I just threw myself into the mix. I was interested in everything and still am. So I just started figuring out, well, until I can kind of figure out what I want to, quote, do with my life, or whatever, then I'll just take it a day at a time. I'll lock into a few future goals, but I'll just kind of focus on service to start, and I'll let that make what it will. And so that led to multiple different opportunities, whether that's military service as a medic, whether that's working as a nurse, whether it's speaking with people, whether it's writing books, or creating more healthy workplaces where toxicity is transformed into healthy, cohesive teams where people enjoy the process of working and building connections in those ways, or helping people with invisible conditions who are suffering in a variety of ways. That we never even think of even when we talk with them, even when we see them every day. Maybe we pass somebody on the street and we don't know the intensity of what they've been through. So the way I look at it is each person is a tremendous mystery that you can, when meeting them, showing them respect, and then peeling back the layers of those onions as you build trust, and you find bridges to tremendous experiences. Like yourself, you've been some tremendous adversity, and now are using this powerful platform to not just share your story, but to give a platform to others who have that story to tell. So I feel honored to be here, but yeah, my background is just, I'm trying to help. That's it.
I love it. And actually, as you were saying that, somebody's name popped into my head that I need to introduce you to after this. He was on our show. I'm writing it down right now so I don't forget because you guys need to meet if you've never met him. His name's Dave Nordell. Have you ever heard that name before?
I have not.
You have not? Okay. You've got to meet this guy. He is amazing. He was a combat medic in the Middle East as well. And he did a show a while back, was on our show and did his on the topic of moral injury in the military. As a medic, I'm sure you can relate to aspects of that. So I will definitely connect you two after this show, because he was incredible. He's a great speaker and travels around talking about that, and it's pretty cool. So I can't wait for you to meet him. But everybody watching, I just gotta throw this out here. If you like, we're gonna cover a lot of ground today. We're gonna be talking about a lot of different stuff. But if anything we say, anything Ben says sparks anything, you're like, ooh, yeah, I should ask about that. Put it in the notes, put it in the notes, the chat. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube or wherever, just put it in the chat. You don't have to be super specific if you don't want to, if it's personal or whatever, but this is your chance, man. Ben's here for an hour. Let's take advantage of it, right? Let's ask some questions. So if you have anything you want to ask, this is the perfect time to do it. Reach out right now. So what was what inspired you to join the military as a medic? What was the inspiration there?
Sure. So on the morning of September 11th, I woke up to a phone call from my brother. He lived in New York City at the time and worked in a building right across the street from the trade towers. So I got that phone call that morning. Said, make sure your TV's on, and I will call you when I can, but I'm okay. And then what we all know occurred that day happened. He had some pretty tremendous experiences. Serving in the military was something I had thought about as a younger person. Like I said, I was interested in everything. So trying to narrow down a focus, on what do I choose as a career path when I'm interested in everything, was a challenge. But that kind of gave me some direction pretty quick, that I wanted to be part of stopping events like that from happening again. And it was an opportunity to do something that was bigger than just myself. And so I wanted to, and I saw the opportunities, of the medical side of the world was something that was interesting to me as well. So I volunteered and got signed up for the medic course, and just went to Fort Benning in 2002, and then did all sorts of training. And whenever they were asking for volunteers for training, I would raise my hand and be like, I'll take training. You're going to pay me to learn more, be more, do more. And
Right.
I'm here to contribute. You know, I'm not here like just for the college money. Like, that's fine. If people do that for the college money, that's great. But I was there because I wanted to contribute to a safer world. And that's what I was there for. So then I just volunteered for anything and everything. And then, you know, served over there, and then came back and continued to serve after that. But yeah, a whole litany of experiences there to talk through, and it would take more than an hour, but we'll do what we can.
I was going to say, you probably have more stories than we could encapsulate in an entire season of episodes. Probably we could be here all week, you know, recording stuff. So, but yeah, I have no doubt. And some of them would be probably awesome stories, and some of them would be hair raising stories, I'm sure. So, yeah. Well, so, I mean, fast forward a little bit. How long were you in the military, by the way? How many years did you get in there?
I was in a total of 8 years and 1 month, and that was not all active duty. I was in like a reserve and guard status for a couple years of those, but ultimately it was 8 total years and a month of an enlistment.
Nice. And that enlistment that ended when? That was in
2010.
Okay, cool. So you've been, oh wow, so you just went straight in there, and okay, 2010. Yeah. So what have you been? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and then kind of at the end of that commitment, my wife and I had some kids, and everything changes at that point for that sort of situation. And I missed a year of my firstborn's life. So the toll of that and things like that, it led to, you know, I'm honored to have served, and you know, and wouldn't trade it for the world. I learned a ton of valuable lessons and experienced some incredible things. But at that point, I was ready to be done and to transition into the civilian world. And so then after that, I transitioned into a law enforcement focus, where I could use a lot of the de-escalation techniques, where I could use a lot of the partnership and collaboration.
Nice.
And utilizing these types of situations. Got trained with some FBI training on crisis and hostage negotiation, and then just worked on de-escalating. Just focused intensely on, you know, resolving situations, resolving conflicts, helping people who are intoxicated and very significant danger to themselves or others, trying to resolve those situations in a way where we didn't lose any life, which I feel fortunate to, you know, I didn't lose anybody, which is a blessing. So that's a good thing. And then transition so I kind of did a bunch of things, like I said. So it was, I worked on that side of the house. I did medical. So I worked in civilian, correctional, militaries, medical environments, and worked just kind of taking it all in, seeing our public service sector from every little nook and cranny and position there. You know, the ER is that nexus of where law enforcement, medical, mental health, all those things converge in that ER. And so a lot of time spent there, spent time helping, you know, going to county jails and just listening to people. So, you know, when people are in jail, they're trying to, you know, trying to get through their time and move on. And so a number of them would welcome me to come see them when I was, you know, when it's like 3 a.m. and there isn't much going on and things like that. They would welcome a visit, and they would just tell me their stories. And it was just horrific stories of abuse, of substance abuse, of exploitation as children, just horrific things, and just kind of listening, hearing, being present. And then a variety of, you know, as we said, a lot of different stories, but a lot of things happening. Just how can I help today, and who can I help today? And I'm going to make the most of the opportunity today. I'm breathing, I'm upright, I'm walking around. Let's make the most of hearing people, being present with them, and trying to alleviate some suffering.
I love it, man. That's it, man. You woke up today, so what can we do? You know, and you dealt, like, I can't imagine listening to those stories, man. Like, there are a lot of people in the military and also in prisons and in all those places, and in the ER too, of course. so many places, so many people that you talk to that probably have their own invisible conditions or invisible challenges or things. I mean, you probably heard it all. You know, that
100%.
is like the, yeah. I mean,
Yeah, and I guess I would say reality is so incredible that I'm certain I would never hear it all, but what I've heard has been absolutely incredible and mind-boggling, and anybody who's, as as you're talking with people and as they're sharing their story with you, the once you start getting in there and it really helps you look at each person through new eyes, and knowing that each person that you meet has a tremendous story, and it really reduces your ability to take people for granted. It really kind of shrinks that, the convenience or the comfort or the routine that we're in, where we just go and we do this and we don't necessarily view the miracle of the people, or that we experience every day. And I can't even describe how many times I just looked across the table or the hospital bed or the jail glass and was just like, it's a miracle that you're still here. It's a miracle that you haven't taken your life, you haven't died you haven't overdosed with a lethal outcome, you haven't been killed by somebody else in these violent, awful situations. Like just tremendous. But it just comes back to that focus of, hey, every minute is a special opportunity. What can we do to connect with others? And that's why I'm focused right now on in understanding those things. How can I create positive outcomes? And what I've been focusing on lately is the workplace, right? A lot of people are really challenged here. You're dealing with people who have been through so much, a pandemic, et cetera. And depending on the workplace, you're dealing with challenges where people are trying to earn money for their families. They're trying to get their hospital bills paid. They're trying to have health insurance, and they're trying to have a healthy and vibrant and exciting experience that doesn't take life for granted while they do their work, and while they get a paycheck and celebrate the miracle of their family, and having interactions with neighbors, like the loneliness epidemic, like challenging those things and being present. So that's a little bit of where a lot of those lessons now have been really focused on. A lot of those experiences were a lot of emergency type situations, or really long-term deep challenges that people are experiencing, from mental illness to substance, dealing with recovery from substance use, these and post-traumatic stress, all of these invisible conditions. And I know we talked a little bit too about autoimmune challenges that people face, and autoimmune conditions where people are out there and so out there struggling with certain things that we don't see. But all those lessons of seeing people in that whole spectrum of experience, it leads into, it can include all that emergency situation stuff, but then it can also, that kind of provides perspective into things that aren't necessarily an emergency, but are just as significant.
Huge. Yeah, no, just because it's not a, knock down, drag out, carry you away in an ambulance emergency doesn't mean it's not something important that you got to address. And 100%. So, even if somebody walks in of their own will into a hospital and says, I need help, you don't treat that any less than somebody that came in with a chest or the chest tube in the ambulance,
I agree. And like you had talked about in your experience, growing up and then what is it? I believe if my understanding, my research is correct, around 2013, 2014, all of a sudden you're having brain surgeries, 4 of them after having 3 prior to that, where there's a break for a long time and some stability. But when any brain surgery is incredibly serious, and let alone having, 2, 3, 4, 7 of these situations, it focuses, and especially when you have kids, you're talking about, all these things we're dealing with mortality, we're dealing with legacy, we're dealing with, everything that's important to us as human beings, and the intensity of that experience of, okay, what do I do with this? What does this mean? What is this going to mean for those who love me? These are intense challenges that having insights into invisible conditions, having insights into the human experience as they suffer, having that type of empathy, compassion, and resilience focus. Really, it can create tremendous outcomes. It can lead to the hope that you're talking about with, the hydrocephalus nonprofit that you run. And man, I mean, that's the thing that's so exciting to do, is to take these things which are extremely challenging and just mine them for all the gold within them in a way of, well, I'm going to make it count. I'm not. I'm choosing to believe that there's significance behind this. That I'm gonna. I have a choice of what I can do with this. I can let it make me bitter. I can let it make me angry. I can let it, and it will at times. And there's nothing wrong with being angry, but it's what we do with it. It's what we do with it at that point. If we try to suppress, oh yeah, I'm acting like I'm fine, but inside I'm raging. That's not going to get us anywhere. But if we focus on that anger and understand why and develop our understanding of it, and then channel it into positive action, then that's something where all of that challenge becomes funneled into empathy, compassion, hope, strength, connection, all the beautiful things that people desire to experience.
I love it. Yeah, 100%. And thank you for saying that, because that's exactly. And I credit my parents for a lot of that. To not get down on it and not be pissed off, and just what can we do? What can we draw out of this that's going to be good? And so that was a good lesson I learned back about 10 years ago from my dad while I was in the hospital for one of those surgeries, and it was huge. So yeah, it's you gotta do something positive with it, or you're just gonna wallow.
So, it'll tear you up. It'll tear you up. It'll take the time that you do have, and it'll just mash that into, and all those things that we talk about. As we talk, I'm sure we'll talk a little bit here about autoimmune challenges and things like that. But yeah, in those moments where we are confronted, we have those. It's natural to feel that anger. It's a threat to our life. It's something that is a challenge. It's something that makes us feel vulnerable or helpless or hopeless at times, and to just act, oh yeah, no, I'm tough enough to handle this, or I'm fine, or whatever. It's when we become honest with it, and we look that square in the face, and we say, no, I'm angry. I am frustrated. I'm feeling hopeless right now. But we bring awareness to those things, and we're able to process them, and then we're able to get more quickly to acceptance. And like you had mentioned, your father and family members who be in a support of like, hey, let's focus on all the good. Let's focus on all the people in this hospital who are here to help, and let's focus on those realities where we don't get swept away in those. And people oftentimes who have experienced trauma or challenges like this, we get caught up in catastrophizing, right? What's the worst case scenario? Our brain tries to protect us with the negativity bias, and it says, all these threats that are coming my way, I need to identify every one of them so that I can try to control and understand and react with this in a way to protect myself. And I'll just get overwhelmed and spiraling and all of that. But we get much more quickly to acceptance when we are just honest. This is how I'm feeling. I'm going to take that in. I'm going to get to that cognitive space where I'm out of that reactive emotional space, just like all the de-escalation concepts, and getting to the point where I'm not lying about what I'm experiencing. I'm processing my honest response to it, and that will get me to acceptance quicker. And it'll also reduce all that that cortisol that comes into our body, that floods us, that everything becomes inflamed, that we then increases all the negative aspects that can happen with our health. And then our immune system goes down when we need it the most. And so instead, whatever it is, that deep breathing, that relaxation, that focusing on resilience concepts, reframing that challenge, processing through those things with someone who cares about us, or somebody that's important to us, boom, then we get into that acceptance much more quickly. And then hopefully we get into a better physical and mental space to get into the healing and helping.
Oh yeah. No, exactly. And I love that. And on the other side of that, we're going to take a break here in just a couple minutes, but on the other side of that break, I really want to kind of get into that because that's the good part, right? Like, okay, we've covered the stuff that's like, okay, this gets us in this state. This is sometimes sometimes when you're especially when it's invisible, right? You're like,
Yeah,
"Ah,
right.
why doesn't anybody get it? And
Yeah.
how do I get through it? And who is out there to help, And so so we're going to talk about this on the other side of the break here for the second half of the show, where we're going to talk about like your tips that I'm sure you have. You've probably got, things that can help us, transform some of those challenges that people are having into successes, right? And be able to help them live better
Yeah.
lives despite their challenges. So we're going to tackle
Absolutely.
that on the other side of the break here. But yeah, oh man, I love it. This is the kind of stuff I love doing on the show, because this is like, okay, we're not wallowing. I hate
Yep.
wallowing. So
Right. Yep. Let's get action. Let's
Yeah.
do something about this. Let's be powerful and challenge that sense of being powerless. And let's, we may not be able to wave a wand and make it all go away, but that's okay, because we're going to do what we can with it.
And acknowledging what you're dealing with, like these conditions that people have. It's like, oh, I don't want to get it diagnosed because it's going to run my life. No. Sometimes when you get the diagnosis, now you have a starting point. It's like, oh, thank God, now I know what's going on. Like autism is a big one like that, like some people that are diagnosed autistic, like in their 30s or 40s, they go, what have I been doing for my whole life?
Exactly. That makes so much sense now, because this and this. Yeah.
Exactly. So so finding out what's going on is a good thing, because now you have a starting point to get to the other side of what's going on and have success. So so yeah, let's do that, man. Let's cut for a break here real quick, and then when we come back, that's what we're going to talk about. And I got a couple things I want to ask you about on the inside of the break, but we'll do that. Just everybody stay around. Do not go anywhere. We got more of the story coming, man. You're not going to want to miss it. So stick around, and we'll see you very soon.
Does your to-do list have you feeling stressed? Does your list include tasks like responding to email and phone calls, collecting forms and paperwork, and sending quotes and invoices? Have you been neglecting posting updates to your social media accounts, email newsletters, or content on your website? Maybe you need help to get digitally organized. I'm Selena, one of the owners at Office Mercenary, and we're a US-based virtual assistant agency. We can take care of all of these tasks and more, so you can get back to focusing on the things you love about your business. Our team is happy to work with you and your individual needs. So schedule a call with us, bring your to-do list, and stop doing the tedious tasks.
Hey there. Every time someone comes into your business or website and uses their card to pay, a percentage of that gets folded back into the system. But it can go to Hydro with Hope instead. If you'd like your business to support us rather than feed back into the system, scan the QR code and we'll show you how to do that while saving your business money.
Hey, how you doing? My name is Greg Russell. I'm the host of TechnologyTuesday.com. You can find us on the Conscious Business TV network every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the latest resources to help you make more money in your business. Join us on E360 TV. Come on.
Hey, everybody, before we bring Ben back to hear the rest of that amazing story and just hear some awesome success stories, I can't wait. But we are going to talk about a community that we are forming here at Invisible Condition. It's called Invisible Condition University. You can see it behind me here. We're going to be launching on August 20th, and we're going to be going on the first and third Tuesday of every month at 3 p.m. Mountain Time. And this community is here for those who are struggling, who are you're saying, I just got this diagnosis, I don't know what to do, or my sister just heard about this, this thing that she could do, or this therapy, or what is out there for people that are struggling like me. I've been there, man. I've struggled. I've had to advocate for myself. And I know a lot of you are doing that too. It's not always easy to be in the hospital, because they don't, I love hospitals. I wouldn't be here without them, but they don't necessarily, you have to advocate for you. They're not going to do it for you. And so we help you with that as well. It's an amazing community. I can't wait for you to be a part of it. If you are interested in learning more about Invisible Condition University and how it's going to work and how you can to join us, please just comment. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube or wherever you're watching from, just comment ICU, as in Invisible Condition University. See what we did there? Flip the script on ICU. See, it doesn't have to mean intensive care. It can be something you can look forward to. So Invisible Condition University, just comment ICU and I will send you some more information. Can't wait to see you there. All right, let's bring Ben back on here and see where we can go here. All right, here we go.
I love that ICU. That was great. I love that.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I'm excited. This is going to be this is a community that I feel like I'm like, where has this been all my life? You know, like,
right on.
Why hasn't anybody come up with this yet? And my parents probably would have killed for this in 1977.
Oh, yeah.
Right? With their 2-week-old baby going in for brain surgery. What do I do? You know, so so we just it just seemed like a natural thing to flow right out of here. So we're gonna hit the ground running and see what we can do to help people. So
everybody sign up for that right now.
That's right. That's right. We'll have a QR code and a landing page, hopefully very, very soon. We don't have it quite yet, but we're getting there. So it'll be ready probably in a few days, and then we'll get that out there. So but I'm wondering, like, I'm thinking back on everything that you told me in the first half, and like there's a lot of things, there's a lot of aspects to these conditions that people, like, whether it's, you said in prison or in the hospital or whatever, one thing that people don't think about, especially when you're the patient, it's really hard to think about, is the caretaker or your spouse, right? Your wife, your husband. My wife is amazing. She has known me. We've known each other since we were 12. There's not a lot of surprises. Like, she's known me forever, but she didn't really have to deal with this. You know, we were married for almost 15 years before any of this came around, with all these surgeries that happened. And so she didn't know what to do. She was like, you know, and then everybody's focusing on me when we go to the hospital. Jeff, what do you need? Jeff, what do you need? Nope. You know, it was hard to, Catherine, what do you need? You know? And so that's something that probably needs to be addressed more. Yes.
100%. And that's one of the things that I've done that's been important to me. For a duration of time, I was really focused on brain health. I was really focusing on helping people with aging processes, on sustaining brain health, on helping dementia situations where dementia was experienced, and the caregiving that goes along with that. So caregiving is a tremendously like exactly what you said. We have an under focus on it. We're not aware of the significance of it. And oftentimes the caregivers are so dedicated, and they sacrifice so much of their own life, energy, needs, etc. They set that all aside to give the care. It's a very noble and honorable thing that they do. However, if they don't practice that self-care along the way, oftentimes the caregiver, especially in those who have at the kind of end of their lifespan there, as they're caring for another, as older adults, then oftentimes the caregiver will pass before the person with the huge medical challenge. And so that's a thing. I created Care Partner Radio, which is focused on helping empower caregivers. It helps soothing, relaxing music, because you know, these challenges that they're experiencing, they are just as much a part of the treatment plan, the plan of care for this person. They are a huge component of that. And oftentimes insurance may not cover their needs, et cetera, but we're having a lot more advocacy and awareness increased about the fact that caregivers need to be valued, respected, and often resourced, you know, and especially with shortages in the medical field, the caregiver is very important. And I agree with you 1,000%. You know, is the need to focus on that not only their physical health, but their mental health as well, because all of these things happening, you know, like you were describing, the marriage is there, 15 years of marriage, and things were largely on the medical side of the house. pretty stable, it sounds like. But
Yeah.
then all of a sudden, there's questions. What about the kids? And that's the thing that's so oftentimes the most troubling part of it is all of a sudden, boom, it happens.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I'm a caregiver. All of a sudden we're dealing with a potential completely life-altering situation, and with oftentimes no indicators leading up to it other than this thing that just has happened. And so we talk about getting to the point of acceptance, and oftentimes that role becomes an identity, right? So then when a person cares for a spouse for 20, 30, 40 years, and then maybe that spouse passes on, that identity is still there as a caregiver, and that leads to a lot of challenges of like, who am I anymore? I spent so much time serving, but who am I? So yeah, a million things we can talk through here, and I'm happy to let you steer the conversation here. But especially with autoimmune challenges where we don't necessarily know right away what is happening, and people are kind of in this thing of I'm having these weird symptoms or these flare-ups or this happens and that happens, but and I'll see multiple doctors get 2 different diagnoses, 3 different, 4 different. People tell me you're fine, and then later I find out I wasn't. Just getting to that point of acceptance is very difficult when you don't have that clarity, and sometimes you don't want to know. Sometimes it's just like, I'll deal with the unknown because it's too terrifying or it's too painful to focus on it.
Well, and sometimes, I don't know, for some reason this popped into my head, and I got to throw it out there because for me as the patient, and I'm sure for Catherine as my caregiver during all these times that have been, for surgeries and different stuff, like when you're tired and when you're hurting and when you're most of the time, not good, not bad, it's just how it works. Most of the time that comes out as anger. And so if I lash out and and say something or do something that makes people look like a monster, it's probably because the person, by the way, probably because somebody's hurting physically or mentally, and they don't know what else to do, and so their primal instinct kicks in, and they lash out in anger, and it takes a very skilled and very loving person to recognize that and go, okay, this is what we actually need to do. He's not mad. He's not. He's hurting, or she's in pain, or
Right. Tremendous. That's a tremendous point. If you look at it, and that's a way that your body and your mind are trying to communicate power. It wants notice. It wants focus. It wants to resist a pain that's happening. It wants to respond with a powerful way to something that is very challenging, and it's particularly challenging when there's brain changes, because you have different parts of the brain being affected, so different emotions come through, or they may not even intend to communicate that way. It may just be like what their brain can do at the time, and so it takes that skill for people to really decipher and help to decipher, okay, this is what this person is trying to do, what they're intending to do, and just kind of looking at it as a behavior where it's an attempt to communicate. So it's something, and so oftentimes what only makes it worse is to make somebody feel worse about it. They're doing their dang best. They're navigating something that is extremely challenging. And piling shame on somebody or piling judgment on somebody at that point, we're really just we're burying each other, and we need to just kind of focus on it. And granted, anger is something that gets people's attention, right? And it makes people, it might frighten people, but that's where I've seen really powerful ways is when you're dealing with someone in anger, you're dealing with somebody who's trying to find a solution in a powerful way, craving an action, desiring a change to something. And so one thing to just focus on is, like you had said, are they in pain? Are they cold? Have they eaten lately? Have they gone to the bathroom? Like these basic human experiences, if we have the courage and the compassion to, even when somebody is angry, to be able to decipher that and ensure that safety is present. Yes, safety needs to be, is the forefront, but at the same time, we can't be afraid of anger either. We need to be in that place where we are listening intensely at that point, and that leads us to solutions rapidly. And so having a caregiver who can help decipher or translate that, or whatever it is, depending on the specific invisible condition, it could be a PTSD trigger where somebody is upset. It could be a brain change. It could just be that somebody is in pain and they can't communicate what that pain is, and they're trying to manage it or to resolve it. These are things where if we get curious and we get in there and we first we ensure safety, but then we also don't let that isolate us and disconnect us anymore, but actually sees that as an invitation to serve with compassion and to decipher what's happening there. Then, oh my goodness, you get somebody who's skilled at that. They are gold. They are pure gold.
Right? It is so cool to see that in action when it's really done well. It's so cool. Yeah. So I totally get it. And I tell you what, Catherine's been phenomenal at that. And it's so cool to, I mean, she didn't ask for this, but man, she good at it. So, awesome. And so I put a QR code up here, and it's for the book that you wrote. And I want to get to that because I know there's people that could find huge value in this. Tell us all what it is, what it's about, and what, just give us some. Sure. Yeah.
You got it. So let's see a few of the things that I've done. So one of the things that I've been involved in that may provide some value to anybody, if you're looking for some, a book or some material or some content that will really speak to your ability to be resilient or to persevere through challenges or to develop some of these concepts that Jeff and I have been talking about here about identifying the challenges that we have, of identifying how they're affecting us, of processing through those emotions, and then transforming the challenge or the multiple challenges that you're going through into something powerful that makes our world a better place, that makes our world more hopeful, more kind and compassionate and an empowered world. Then you may want to read a book, especially if you're a baseball fan. Here, if you click on the QR, if you scan the QR code and get into that, there's a book that I wrote with Adam Greenberg called Get Up, the Art of Perseverance. And Adam was a Chicago Cub and a Miami Marlin in Major League Baseball. On his first plate appearance in the major leagues, so Dusty Baker was looking for somebody to pinch hit. They needed a spark on the team to get something going in the game. Adam had just been called up with one of his best friends into the major leagues, and he was in a Cubs uniform for the first time and was just waiting for the time that he's going to get his first plate appearance in the major leagues. Only 18,000 people in history have ever been a major league ball player. It was the height of his entire trajectory. He had spent his entire childhood and young adult life pursuing the dream of being a major league baseball player, and he was there. And Dusty Baker, sends him in to pinch hit. He walks up there, he puts the helmet on his head and looks out into the stands and digs into the batter's box and gets ready to take his first pitch as a major league ball player. And so the pinnacle of everything he had worked for, this tremendous dream, is something that people rarely ever experience. And he was one of these few human beings who have ever done this at this level. Yeah. And then in the first pitch he saw, it was a ball that was high and inside. It was 92 miles an hour. It was sailing directly toward him. He thought the ball was going to break into like a curveball or a ball that curves away from the batter, but it didn't. And so as he turned away to try to evade the pitch, it hit the back of his head. So it didn't even hit the helmet that he was wearing. It hit his direct his head. And so 92 miles an hour of momentum then went through his head. His vision was altered. All those fine bones inside of his ear that deal with our balance, those were all damaged. And this was before Major League Baseball concussion protocols, mind you. So basically, when that hit his head, it was a traumatic experience. Obviously, 92 miles an hour, that could kill someone easily. He went down, and he immediately, you can see even in the video, and this is a trigger warning for anybody. If you have TBI, if you have a brain injury, if you have any sports injury or trauma like that, please, if you need to dial off for a minute or come back here in a few minutes, that's absolutely fine. Take care of what you need to do for your mental health. But he was struck in the back of the head. He went down. He felt like his skull was fractured. He was holding his head, and he said to himself, "Stay alive, stay alive, stay alive." Yeah. And as soon as he started to kind of reorient himself, he started to realize that he was not bleeding all over everywhere, and he realized that it was okay. He was like, he thought people would be getting towels because he thought his head was, damaged to that degree, but no one was getting towels. And the catcher kind of patted him on the chest, and the trainer came out and basically said, or how many fingers am I holding, or where, those types of questions.
Yeah, do you know where you are? What day is it? Yeah, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. And he said, and his response to, "Do you know where you are?" He said, "I'm in the major leagues and I'm not going back." That's what he actually said to the trainer as he kind of came back from that. So he was just a warrior, right?
Wow.
What he didn't fully understand, and what no one fully understood, they didn't even send him to the hospital at that point. This is pre-concussion protocols. He didn't even go to, it was like, just try to sit upright. And, he had some of these, like you were talking about, or like the autoimmune disease that we were talking about, these things that happen where you don't have that clear symptom pathology. You don't have that clear, like, oh, it's A, B, and C. So that means this diagnosis, and you take this med, or you put this cast on, or you have this easy fix to solve it, and then you'll be fine. It was not that. It was that awful kind of space where you don't have an answer, where you don't know. And at the same time, his dream was riding on all of this, because if you can't see clearly, and if you can't have balance, and if you're having extremely bad headaches and migraine headache, and you're not having balance, and you're not able to run and catch the ball, and you have like a millisecond to make a decision on swinging the bat to potentially have contact with the ball. If you can't do that, you can't be in the major leagues. Ultimately, it's a business. If you can't do that, I'm sorry, kid, but
you're done.
You're done. So he spent 7 years navigating all of that and trying to figure it out. And then he has a pretty tremendous 7 years later. I'll just say that he got another opportunity to wear a major league uniform. He got an official at bat, but I will let the readers understand and go through that journey with him in the book that we wrote together. It's called Get Up, The Art of Perseverance, one of the most unique stories and inspiring stories in all of Major League Baseball. I'd highly recommend, if you're looking for some of that positive, enlightening, exciting, empowering, content, you should check out Adam's story. Tremendous human being.
That's amazing. I love that. And it's so many people are going to be relate to that, because so many people have been in that. I've been in that situation, not on a baseball diamond, but I've been in that situation where I've gone down and I'm like, okay, what now? What do we do next? Am I bleeding? Am I injured? Am I, and it's like, it's a big deal. That must've been terrifying for him laying on the ground like that. So
and terrifying for his family too, in the stands there to celebrate his first major league game, and his family being there and seeing that happen to their son, their brother. It's like, it was a tremendous thing. But that's why Adam's story is so powerful to so many, because just as you experienced in that, you're in that hospital bed, and it is a completely different world all of a sudden. And everything that you thought, or everything that you were experiencing, everything had changed. And it's the same for him, and it's the same for so many of us. Something happens, or we lose somebody we thought would always be there, or we get diagnosed with something, or a friend was killed in combat, or we lose, all the things that happen in this life that can be traumatic, troubling, scary, and life altering. I think no one gets out of this life without some form of suffering, without some form of, of how, without some suffering. And so it's important to have, those examples that we can draw from, that inspiration, because when you're in that hospital bed at 3 a.m. and you don't know, it's a lonely place, and it's a place where you need someone to be present and to whisper kindness to you, and to be present in a compassionate, real way, and get back up. And so
that's why so many people were so fortunate to have you around. I guess, I mean, you were that guy. You were that guy, right? You were the voice you were listening to all those people, right? I mean, that's huge. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's an honor to serve others, right? Because we always learn something about ourselves in that process as well. But to be that for somebody who's suffering, that's a sacred role, and that's ultimately what you do here. Being that voice and sharing people's experiences that have invisible conditions, that are craving a voice, that are craving the desire to be heard, to be valued. When so much of our cultural experience in the United States is, to have value, you have to have six-pack abs, you got to drive a Ferrari, you got to be a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, you got to have it all together at all times and never do anything, and never have any failures and things like that. It's just we miss the power and the glory of the human experience, because we spend all our time trying to be, George Clooney or whoever it is. Like, be yourself. Face your challenges. You don't need to be rich to be rich. Like, the wealth comes from these internal experiences and helping people out of suffering. That is wealth to me. That's my values though. And everybody has their own, but that's what invigorates and enlivens me is helping people not be isolated, helping share their tremendous stories and easing suffering. That's where I want to be at. That's a sacred thing to me. So, yeah, it's
amazing, and I'm so glad you are, because there needs to be more people doing that. So you're rocking it. I love it.
Kind of me to say. Kind of.
So we got about 2 minutes left.
All right.
Time flies when you're having fun. So
yeah.
What do you got in the last 2 minutes? What would you like to leave with the audience?
Sure. First of all, I just want to say thank you, Jeff, for having me on. It's been an honor to meet you and to share some of this and to hear or to research your story and all that you've been through with your family. And so anybody out there that, if you're dealing with suffering, if you are dealing with something where you're not okay, where you are angry, where you're frustrated, where, if you're working at a job that you dread going to, that you cramp up with anxiety about going into the door because of all the negative things that are happening there, and all you want to do is make a paycheck and enjoy, the time that you have with your family, and you're dealing whatever you're dealing with. I just want to encourage you, like Jeff has talked about, and with his ICU, the Invisible Condition University. These are tremendous opportunities for you to reduce your isolation. Your isolation is dangerous. Please find a way to connect with somebody who cares, regardless of whether they're family or not, whoever they are. Make sure that you connect with somebody who cares about you with no strings attached, who their only agenda is to see you thrive, and who is willing to be there for you when the cards are down, as well as when you succeed. I would encourage you to find people like that. I would encourage you to make sure that you're not isolated and alone. If you're self-medicating with alcohol, if you're using substances to try to cope with the internal pain of whatever you're dealing with, please start the tremendous process of realizing that whatever you're going through, this could be you getting up into a tremendous future where all the suffering and the pain that you've experienced, you can reach out to somebody who has had the experience in the same way, and you can provide them the light that they need to get up when everything is dark, when it's midnight, black out inside of themselves, and they don't know where to find any bit of light. You can be that. And so you don't have to be rich. You don't have to be anything other than a person who cares, takes care of yourself while you take care of others, and you will be rich. You will be fulfilled. And that'll be something that will give you a profound look. When you get done living this life, you look back, you'll know you have spent it well.
I love it. That's perfect, man. That's perfect. Man,
Cool.
Thank you so much for being here, Ben. This has been an honor for me to have you. And man, just keep up the good work, man.
Will do. You too. You too. It's great to connect.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, we might have to do this again.
Right on. Right on.
Awesome. All right, guys. Hey, thank you so much for being here. I'm gonna I'm speechless, man. I'll talk to you after the show. All right.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you. Thank you. Oh man. Oh, this is so cool. I love shows like this. I hope he doesn't go anywhere. I want to talk to him. So we're gonna talk after the show because we got more to do here. We got some stuff to talk about. So tell you what, I'm so glad you were here. Thank you. If this is your first time watching, welcome. Thank you for being here. If you've been here a while, thank you. If this is, like, follow, subscribe, share, all the things. And if this is your new favorite episode, share it so somebody else can enjoy it too. Join us on our next episode, which will be Tuesday, August 13th, for another amazing guest with a wonderful story. Till then, have an incredible day. We'll see you next time.